What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your host, Adam Perez. We're back with a brand new movie review for you guys. As today, we're going to go ahead and finally get into this Netflix film, Damsel. I've been doing a couple of trailer reviews for this film, really eager for it. It actually was released over on March 8th over on Netflix, starring Millie Bobby Brown. Every trailer that I saw for this movie really got me hyped for it. I thought they had a great sort of marketing and promoting run for it, and I was really eager for it. Unfortunately, time just got past me with a toddler at home. We did some traveling also here this past week. So I finally got the opportunity to sit down and watch it as of yesterday. So I'm here to go ahead and certainly talk about it, give you some idea as to whether or not you should give this Netflix film a try for yourself. So let's go ahead and dive into this review, guys. First and foremost, for those of you who don't know about this particular movie, the synopsis reads as a young woman agrees to marry a handsome prince only to discover it was all a trap. She is thrown into a cave with a fire-breathing dragon and must rely solely on her wits and her will to survive. Really, the premise here is the idea that you have a kingdom or you have a town that is pretty much poor on their luck, if you will, which Millie Bobby Brown certainly belongs to as the girl by the name of Elodie. This kingdom certainly approaches them in regards to trying to find their prince a wife, and comes to make a deal for all the riches and all the gold, certainly in the world. But as they quickly come to find out, there's certainly more to this deal than certainly meets the eye. And you come to find out just years of ceremony for this particular kingdom, if you will, and what that ceremony certainly includes. And so, look, I really enjoyed the premise. They really pushed this movie as, not your average fairy tale. If this is going to be your sort of just regular damsel in distress where the prince hero comes and rescues, the girl in question, that's definitely not what this movie is. And so for me, I really enjoyed sort of that twist on it. I do think that Millie Bobby Brown in here, I think she's a really great actor, honestly. I do think that she really helps to carry this film. I think she has a really great performance in here, especially when there are solitary moments, when she's isolated in the caves, certainly by herself, when she's got to work against sort of a green screen at time. I do believe that they built some huge sort of in-cave sets for this piece. I believe the director might have mentioned them using some caves filming on location. It might have been rather minimal, but they did have some really big set pieces that Millie Bobby Brown said were just incredibly immersive. So when you have pieces like that, instead of having to always act against a green screen, I think you could probably get your best performances out of here. And so by no means is Millie Bobby Brown the weak link in here. If anything, I think her wit, her sassiness, her cleverness just as a person and as an actor goes hand in hand with who Elodie is certainly supposed to be in this film. And I think she gives an amazing performance. Even though we don't get to see him very briefly in this film, Nick Robinson, who plays Prince Henry in here, I really enjoyed sort of the chemistry that they had on screen together. I am glad that they gave them sort of some moments to connect in here, and this not be the case of here's your prince, let's get married, and then all hell kind of ensues. I really do appreciate the fact that they took the time to kind of build some sort of chemistry, making you think that this was gonna end happily ever after, if you will. But I thought Nick and Millie had some really great on-set chemistry, and you can definitely see it come across on screen to the point to where, as a viewer, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, this is not going to end well whatsoever, and it certainly does not. It's still some look. They showed the clip in the trailer where he literally is carrying her like a queen, across the threshold, only to literally chuck her down into the cave hole. And even though I've seen it in the trailer, it's still cold-blooded as hell when you see it in the movie. I mean, the way that they build this up in regards to, giving some hope to Elodie and her family, seeing where they came from, the great mystery and the intrigue as to the kingdom in which they're certainly going to. I mean, if there weren't ominous signs when they get to this island, I don't know what they were certainly looking at, but everything just felt like something is off about this kingdom. And it certainly showcases itself there as well. I appreciated the mystery and the intrigue, the revelations as they come to you in regards to really what's going on with this kingdom, along with its history. I thought storyline wise, it worked for me in regards to how they foretold, or not foretold, but how they revealed the history of this particular kingdom in such a great way. I will say I was a fan of the special effects. Some of it kind of felt a little bit janky in the very first sequence that we see, but I think as far as in the caves, I personally was a fan of the dragon design. It kind of felt like a mix of like a dragon mixed with a griffin at times. It was a unique dragon design, but I kind of appreciated it certainly for what it was. So I also really appreciated the fact that, and they kind of tease us in the trailer too, so this isn't really a spoiler, but I love the idea that they gave the dragon a voice. I mean, this film really does dive into sort of the fairy tale aspect of it all. It's not very like grounded sort of story, uh damsel in distress story. I mean, they definitely do hearken to some of the fairy tale aspects of it. So for that, I definitely do appreciate. Like, there's some really interesting creatures in here too that Elodie certainly comes across that has some sort of abilities. I certainly won't tell you what they are, but again, they really do leap into the fantastical a little bit at times. But for me, it works because I like the idea that they kind of take some swings in here. I appreciated the performances. I thought Angela Bassett was utilized well in here. I would have liked to have seen more from her, honestly. But I enjoyed the story for certainly what it was. Not to say that it did not have its weak moments, because it certainly does. For me, I think this movie really begins to kind of fall apart when there are two things really that jump out at me. There are moments of just luck, just things that happen for Elodie that are kind of unexplained. They don't really tell you anything about it. It feels like they're gifts at times in regards to Elodie and helping her kind of traverse this cave and survive as long as she certainly did. Some of the editing, I think, probably could have done a little bit more work, because there are times when we go from one scene to another and I'm asking myself, well, how did she get there? How is that possible? Sort of thing, right? So I do think some of the editing was kind of janky, some of the ideas of luck kind of springing up for her. And quite honestly, I think the last act of this film is very rushed. Some of it doesn't make necessary like narrative sense to me. There are other ways that I think you probably could have told the story to still get to the end result that you kind of wanted to see. But it is one of those things where it's like, I wonder if they had the ending in mind for this movie, not necessarily before they created this film, but there's like one or two shots at the end of this movie that I'm a big fan of, mind you, that I think are beautifully, like visually are beautiful. But it's like, if your point was to get to that end point, I think the final act could have been done and handled in a completely different manner. There's just so much stuff that immediately happens and goes down that I do wish was better explained. That's where the choppy editing comes into play, almost like the rush in amount of time. Like, I was kind of confused as to how much time she actually spent in this cave and in this dragon's lair, if you will. But the final act just made no sense to me whatsoever. I'll let you guys certainly watch it to check that out for yourself, to see maybe if it lines up perfectly with you. If there was anything I really wanted to see in here, like, while I appreciate the focus of Elodie in the cave, there is like outside drama too that I kind of want to see how it unfolded, in the sense of, maybe cutting back and forth from the dragon's lair to the kingdom to kind of see how Elodie's family is handling everything that's kind of transpiring, right? Like, when do they find out? Do they find out, sort of thing, right? Like, I feel like there's certainly more drama to be had also in the kingdom. And so I do think that the story might have flowed better and maybe been a little bit more intriguing had they kind of cut back and forth from time to time. Because once Elodie is in the cave, Elodie is in the cave, and then of course we get to our final act. So again, I think two-thirds of this film really well handled. I think the director in here, I believe his name is Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. I think he did a pretty good job in here as well. But solid movie. Weak ending. You know, a film I certainly recommend. Yeah, I would definitely go ahead and check it out. If you like Millie Bobby Brown, if you like sort of like the fantastical fairy tale, dragons, castles, knights sort of story, definitely go ahead and certainly give this a try. But you know, I wouldn't say expect a masterpiece. You know, I think from the trailers, I was thinking, man, this is gonna be a masterpiece. Not quite what I got, but one that I certainly still enjoyed for certainly what it was. But look, guys, at the end of the day, these are just simply my A+ opinions. I definitely want to know yours. I thought the visual effects were great. Music actually worked for me too. It really just kind of comes down to the story and the execution for the final half in here. But you know, I don't necessarily know if I need a sequel after this. I really enjoyed the way that at least the final couple sequences ended and kind of put a stamp on the story itself. So yeah, that's my review for Damsel, guys. But at the end of the day, I want to know yours. If anything, I'll go ahead and put a report card up here, maybe by the end of the weekend, if not at the beginning of the week, for you guys to go ahead and get my final result. But again, these are just my A+ opinions. I want to know yours. Let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. But until next time, guys, do us a big favor as always. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.